Here's my power pop recommendation for the week. It's a band called The Beaches. They this is I don't know, their second album just came out. I forget the name of it, but it's got a very nice cover. And it's a band of four women from Canada, a nice rockin' combo, and they write very, very catchy songs. And I heartily endorse them. I think one of my favorites, I can still remember the name of the song, is the Last Girls at the Party. Anyway, give that record a spin or a stream or whatever you'd like to do. The Beaches, as
The
in Sandy,
beaches.
the beaches. I also recommend, speaking of this, Pacifica. There are two women from Argentina, from uh, South America, and they are also quite good at crafting power pop. I mean, this is a genre I particularly am fond of. It's catchy as heck, and it rocks nicely, and it's usually about love, so people can relate to it. Uh, they're great. So I recommend Pacifica, The Beaches. Wet Leg not is not a power pop band, but is a very, very strong, interesting modern rock band, and
Yeah.
they are very interesting in terms of their dynamic. So
How is
I'm
their second album doing? It's been out
I don't
for
know how
a
it's
month or
doing. I
so
mean,
now.
I am seeing a few snippets on YouTube of concert footage, and I see the places are packed.
Yeah.
And I know some of the shows have been sold out here in the States. They're on the US tours. I said I'll see them in Boston next week. So I
I
assume it's doing
liked it a
well.
lot. The thing, it's hard. I think it's hard to really get a feel of like the big picture of what's going on with the bands now because the algorithms, because it's like, you run across YouTube and Spotify and all that. Well, all those are all algorithms. You're seeing them a lot and hearing them a lot because that's in your personal feed, right? Right? And YouTube keeps serving them up to you because you look at them. But that's why I can't. It's hard to get a sense of overall what are they doing outside of my
Yeah.
little world. You
Yeah.
know.
I mean, I don't think, the days of looking at the Billboard charts and seeing any kind of chart, even if it were, segmented by style,
Yeah.
those are passe. So it's pretty difficult to get a handle on. Even stream counts don't really do it justice, or in comparison to the giants who are streamed,
Yeah.
millions of times a week or a month. I think, from my standpoint, which is pretty low to the ground, it's as long as I can continue to find bands that seem germane to me, that's my thing. And some of them are, I mean, I don't know, because I try to consciously not be submerged under the algorithmic recommendations. So I like to make sure that I'm not just listening to stuff that I will listen to because I like the style. But I can't tell you that Pacifica, for example, is, recognizes, uh, any kind of impact anywhere. I don't know. All I know is I can find their YouTube videos because I have to go look for them. But when I look for them, then I find them, and I play them more than once. So I start to get recommendations that are complementary to that. But most of the bands that I'm talking about, I found on my own. And I try to think about, how does this happen? How does it happen? Because nobody tells me about it. It's because maybe I read about them in The Guardian or some other news outlet. And then if it sounds intriguing enough, I'll give it a listen. But I don't know. Power pop is something that I like to listen to, but I don't listen to it a lot. So, but when I do, I get kind of very
Yeah.
much into it for a week or so, and then I have to go listen to Japanese noise music or something like that.
Right.
If I listen to Baroque music, and then, as I said, I mean, I do like Japanese noise music. Brow is a very good noisy band. I like, psychedelic rock. This is kind of a very uh, interesting time because there's a lot of great psych rock bands out there. I like to listen to jam bands, and there are a couple of the great jam bands are actually from Connecticut. Um, so I'm always carrying the torch for Goose, one of my favorite bands, not to be confused with Geese, who are also a very good band, but not they don't sound at all like one another. But I recommend Geese and Goose. What's good for the goose
It's
is
good
good
for
for
the
the
geese.
geese, and vice versa. And the other band I like from Connecticut that's a jam band like is called Eggy. So I think if you're in a jam band, you have to have a stupid name, and that fits the bill. Uh, but those are my tips for the week. The beaches, Pacifica, Goose. Goose has a new album out, and Geese. And I forget the lead singer of Geese put out a solo album, which is really quite good. I'll have to do my homework yet because I can't remember his name. But
So,
if you
but
if you
this begs a question.
yes.
So, are we actually seeing a proliferation of female power pop performers, or is this Bill feeding a fetish? So,
Well, it's most. I won't discard the first part, but the second part is definitely true. uh, I do. I think typically that melody, is kind of an overlooked part of the whole musical scenario these days. And if you read enough about how hits are generated, I mean, real hits, as opposed to a good song, it's quite scientific.
it is.
And so you got to capture, especially because of streaming, you got to capture attention almost immediately. Power pop is good at that, but you still need a kind of a build up. It seems to me that some of these performers, and maybe I don't think it's certainly not exclusive to women, but they do have a sensibility of melody. But when it's combined with, the rocking aspect of it, I sound like a rocking aspect, but it's way you can really convey a powerful message in a way that can attract people's attention. I don't know if there are certainly more power pop bands that are women fronted than there have been historically. I would think that's true.
No. Well, I say this with total sincerity, Bill. I admire how eclectic you are.
Well, I think the interest is always in something around the corner. What's the next thing? And I think I've certainly resigned myself to the fact there is no next thing, but there can be variations and enhancements or diversions along different genre paths that are newly taken. I mean, whenever I feel like in the mood to listen to glam rock, for example, I mean, I could pull out T-Rex. I love T-Rex. I love Slade or Status Quo or something like that. But if you go play something by Hammered Satin, which is essentially a cover band that doesn't play covers, but they sound, because they intentionally have absorbed the trappings of glam bands, they sound like 1973, and they dress that way, but they don't play covers. They write original material, and it's produced in a way that sounds like it could be a Slade song that never got recorded. So it's a good way to escape the nostalgia trap while still, celebrating an era and a sensibility.